Welcome back to the program. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. And today on the program, we'll be taking a look at a very interesting topic. Today, we're taking a look at raising a 21st century teenager. Before we went on that break, I did say that be it a teenager or not, being intentional is very important when raising children. What are some of the things that you must do as a parent when taking care of teenagers today? It takes the grace of God, honestly, because things are changing and you must also change with the times. And so today we just want to take a look at some of these things. Do we also need to go into the minds of our children this time around when parenting? We do have a guest in the house, and today, hopefully, we'll be able to find a meaning to this conversation. Ronke Posh is here with us today on the program. Ronke, thank you for being here on the program.
Good morning. Thanks for inviting me.
Right. So we're looking at raising a 21st century teenager. I know that things have changed from what they used to be, but if you know, looking at an average teenager today and when dealing with them, what are some of the basic things that you think as a parent you must have? Some of those things as a parent that you must be intentional about?
Well, as a parent, you have to be intentional, which you said. Good communication skills. And the parent has to be available for the child, because we find that a lot of parents are saying that they are busy. So you just have to be available to listen. You have to have active listening skills, and you have to be able to have that ability to influence your child, because you find that a lot of the children are being influenced by external factors as opposed to their parents.
Ajibola?
Oh, okay. In raising a 21st century teenager, how do we marry the old with the new to raise the future? Because, you know, some teenagers will tag their parents as old school because they do not believe in certain things. And the mind of an average teenager these days is a battlefield, contending for so many attention, especially ICT and social media. So how do we marry the old with the new to raise the future?
I mean, when people talk about the old, the new, I still think a child is a child, regardless. And I believe that if we manage these children, there are stages of development. This social media that we talk about, this technology that we talk about, they have very good aspects. They are good. It's just how we use it. Anything that is not well managed is subject to abuse. If we give the right doses, the right portions at the right time, then we'll have the right balance for the future. But you find that the typical 5-year-old even has a smartphone and they're on TikTok and are doing all those things. So by the time they become what you think are teenagers, they're not teenagers. They already have an adult mind. They're already exposed to so many things. So the challenge is that parents should stop giving these children the gadgets at such a young age, except if they are producing. So you find that people can be consumers or they can be producers. So your child can be someone that is maybe performing online, maybe a dancer or somebody coding or creating something, yeah? So we want people to create content and create products online as opposed to sitting down and consuming. So if your child is producing, then that's fine. But if it's just to consume, then you need to manage the use of that device. A 2-year-old does not need to be online. A 5-year-old does not need to be online. Even a 13-year-old that is not emotionally ready does not need to be online. The challenges are because we don't know how and when to manage these devices. When we do, then we'll prepare those children for the future. They will use technology ecologically. They will use technology at the right time, in the right way. But it's always social media, isn't it? It's always consuming all sorts of dirty content online, which is causing a lot of the challenges that we have today.
I'm still going to go back a bit to what Ajibola said, and that's talking about, of course, how we were raised, and then we want to raise our children the same way. And marrying that with what you said, communication is very key. And oftentimes we think, oh, the way we were raised were the best ways to raise children. So how do we begin to reach a compromise or to reach a midpoint, sometimes also realizing that our parents raised us the best way they knew. And so we must also begin to find, you know, ways to raise our own children our own way rather than using the same manual that we used, that we were exposed to.
So I don't have the question yet.
The question is, how do we take ourselves away from that era where we think the way we were brought up remains the best way. And then we cannot find a balance between raising children now and how we were raised. So is it okay to raise your child the exact way you were raised?
No, it isn't. And the way you were raised, what makes you think is the right way? Now, if you think about Nigeria, look at what is happening already in Nigeria. So is that were we raised in the best way? There's a lot of brutality, there's a lot of things happening in society, and there's a lot of corruption. And these people or leaders, a lot of us were raised the old-fashioned way. So has it worked? Now, I don't believe that it has worked, because if it worked, then we would have a better society than we have today. Now, how do we raise our children? Parents assume that parenting is innate. It's not innate. Parenting is to be learned, especially now that we have so much exposure. There's a lot of information. We're drowning in a sea of information. Parents need to know that it's not just food, clothing, shelter, or maybe education that they need to give their children. They need to learn. They need to read books. They need to attend courses. When they're doing all these marriage seminars and stuff, they need to instill parenting courses as well, because a lot of people are clueless. I mean, on social media, some of the questions that I get, I'm like, and you're somebody's parent? Hello, this child is already in trouble, because a lot of people don't know what they're doing. So we must normalize the fact that people need to know how to raise their children based on the child's personality type, based on the child's love language, different attributes that the child has. It is like going to school. You'd really need to dig deep to understand a child. And a lot of parents, they don't understand, it's like my way or the highway, or they want to be too friendly with the children, there are no boundaries, so they keep missing it. So parents need to normalize learning how to parent their children.
Okay, so as parents, are we patient enough to observe the strength and the weaknesses of our children in such a way that we'll find a way to complement those strengths and, of course, highlight those weaknesses for them to become a better teenager?
Well, that's individual. I mean, are we patient enough? Patience is an attribute. Patience is a choice.
Or are we observant enough?
It's also a choice. If you want to observe your child, it's also a choice. You know, the thing is that there are a lot of lazy parents. A lot of parents that just want to just swing it. You can't swing parenting. If you want to get it right, you have to put in the work. It's not automatic. If you don't put in the work, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't put in the work, you're not going to get the results. So it's not rocket science. You have to sit down there, spend time with your child, because a lot of people, they will say, oh, I turned out all right. Yeah. You turned out all right because you have a wife or a husband, so a spouse, you have a car, you have a house, and those are external factors. But you're perhaps the drug addict, you're perhaps that terrible leader at work, you're perhaps that person that is gambling, hooked on pornography. The internal factors need to also come into play. You're probably the one that also beating the wife and doing all those sort of things. So having a house, having a spouse is not enough to say that you turned out all right. What are those other things that are, you know, destroying you and causing you to also destroy your children and society as a result?
So when we talk about raising, oftentimes we also don't talk about, or even when we talk about raising or parenting, we also don't talk about two people coming together to raise a child. It's either we're leaving it to just the mother or the father. It's only in very few cases that you have both, you know, just working together at raising. So how important is it really to raise a child in an atmosphere of love? Because again, when there is a dysfunctional family, there is a problem already. And so how important is it to raise a child by both parents if they're available and if they stay together?
Okay, so you used, I'm going to throw this a bit, because you use the word dysfunctional. And anytime I hear the word dysfunctional, I'm always quick to say, what is the meaning of dysfunctional? Okay. So you typically probably say
maybe that a broken home.
What is a broken home even?
Okay, so when the father and the mother aren't together?
That's not a broken home.
So what is it?
So let me explain. Let me carry you along. Now, a father and a mother in a nuclear family, raising children. However, they're in a toxic environment. They are fighting, they are beating each other, there's domestic abuse happening. Is that not dysfunctional? That's dysfunctional, irrespective of the fact that it's nuclear. Now, if you have mom with the grandparents living together in a nice, loving environment, is that a functional or a dysfunctional home?
functional.
It's a functional. So we must understand that we need to redefine what we understand as a family.
Okay.
As long as a child is in a healthy environment and is thriving, that child is going to still come out right.
Irrespective of
whether it's father or mother. Now, this is not to discount the role of a father or a mother in the life of a child.
Okay.
These are very important. In the absence of this, and this is becoming predominantly more common, in the absence of not having a father or a mother, there should be a responsible and trusted adult
okay.
that will take that position for that child. So it is possible to raise. I think so many people have raised children that are not
they're
from
biological children or
exactly.
in a nuclear family.
So the family formation has changed. The family dynamics has changed. So people should start getting used to the fact. In fact, it's already happening. So that thing that we call nuclear family, that thing that we call dysfunctional and broken, we need to redefine it, because a lot of people are fighting to be in nuclear families that are toxic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we navigate this path of raising responsible, God-fearing, and civil teenagers? What are those core values that we must have as parents before we can impact our teenagers?
Okay, so another thing is you use this God-fearing. So what is the meaning of God-fearing? You know, these are the things that people would naturally say. Obedient child, God-fearing child, or you know, what is a God-fearing child? What would you define so that I can answer the question? What would you call a God-fearing child?
Okay, let's use civil.
Yeah?
Are responsible.
You know, so we have to be very careful with what we want from our child. We have to have family values. We have to have personal values. Now, when we look at the nation, what are our values? Do we even know what they are? You know, read through the national anthem, for example. What are those things?
The old or the new?
Well, you can even blend it. Anyone. Do people actually live by those values? Do they believe in it? Now, if you believe in it, do you have your own personal values? If you don't have your personal values, how are you going to set one for your family? How are you going to set one for your children? How are you going to guide them? So really, any change that we want in our families and for our children, it has to start with us.
And the teenagers are watching.
Yeah, they're totally watching. I mean, the biggest example is what we do, not what we say. And that is why they have these people called influencers online. They're easily influenced. If your child cannot say that you are the first role model in that child's life, then there is a challenge. Your child should see you first as so inspiring. You know, I always say I'll use women for example, because I work with women a lot. I'll tell women, don't sit at home and not look good and say, oh, I'm just looking after children, I'm a homemaker, which is fine, that's your choice. But whatever it is that you're doing at home, inspire your children. Let them still say, oh, wow, my mom, you know, she's second to none. She's amazing. But no, what they see is mommy tying her palm or doing one thing or the other that is not even, you know, watching all those programs, nothing encouraging. But then when they go online, they see beautiful women, young women doing things, inspiring
and they
them,
want to be like
and
those
they want to
women.
be like them. Unfortunately, many times those people are not doing the right things. They follow them regardless.
You mentioned trust and communication. So how do we build, or how do we build or allow our children to build their trust and communication skills around us? In that way, they will be able to speak or discuss anything with their parents.
You know, our culture has this culture. We have this culture of fear. You know, it's what I say. Mommy is in the house or daddy comes back from work. Everybody scatters. You know, that kind of thing. That's one thing that we need to remove from our homes. Fear, and replace it with love.
Okay.
When a child feels loved, a child is safe. And when a child is safe, a child can speak up. A child can communicate. And then we also need to understand that whatever that child says, whether right or wrong, is valid from that child's perspective. It's for you to guide that child in love, not flog, not shout, not scream. When we do all those things, the more we do it, the more the child recoils, the more the child does not trust you, the more the child does not want to tell you things. Now that child will go to school and tell the friends. The friends will accept that child. They would accept whatever it is that they're saying. So they feel that love. So instead of them going outside to seek that love and validation, allow them to seek it. Even when they are doing something that is wrong, you can always correct that wrong in love. Yeah.
Okay, many of us as parents, we are shy to always discuss sex and whether we like it or not. If you do not teach them at home, they will find out, because they are curious, they will find out there. And of course, those that are not supposed to teach them will teach them the wrong thing. So how do we build our confidence in such a way that, okay, we'll be able to discuss anything and everything with them?
I mean, it starts from an early age. This thing that people don't want to talk about, that is sex. What exactly is it? Everybody's doing it in one capacity or the other. So I don't know.
So why don't you want to talk about it?
Why don't you want to talk about it? Help these children. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, they don't want to talk about it. The thing is, when we start seeing it as something that's not a taboo, but as a norm, it's happening and it's going to continue to happen. This is how the children were made. Now, say, for example, when you're teaching a 2-year-old about body parts, for example, stop using words like bomb bomb and the pencil
Use
and all
their
those
original names.
When you use it, so you tell them, what's your vulva, what's your penis? When you start saying things like that, it will be like, wash your hand, wash your eyes. They won't see it as
something strange.
Because you've raised them to believe that this is what it is, you know. You say, oh, what's your private part? Cover your private part, you know. Yeah, we get it. But you know what I mean? They are parts of the body. Wash your buttocks. Did you clean your bottom well? You know, use the normal terms. As they are growing up, you should tell them you need to protect your vulva. You need to protect your people. We don't need to see it. You don't just make it a normal conversation in the house. I mean, I have an 18-year-old, and as she grew up and she was telling, so that you come and tell me something, and I literally want to faint. I'm like, I'm supposed to be your mother here. Hello. Even I'm in my 40s, and I will not even tell my mother some of these things that my daughter is telling me. But I've learned to normalize what she says. I've learned to see it as not a big deal. And the more I see that's not a big deal, the more she brings these bombshells to me and she tells me all these big things. And I'm learning from her as well.
Right.
You know, she's telling me, oh, because she knows what I do. I work with families. If she sees something, mommy, look, she'll send it to me. And I'm thinking, can I even send this to my mother now, as I am? Because the kind of relationship that we have built. So we must ensure that we can build it and let our children, they should trust us totally with their words, with their issues, and anything that they have. We should be able to do that for them.
We'll still go back to issues around social media because, again, that is what we have around us now. So we do know that, of course, like you said earlier, social media has a positive influence. It also has a negative influence on those children. But as parents, what are some of those things that we also need to guide against when, you know, our children are on those platforms? I know families who also restrict the kind of sites that children go into, or you know, from their own gadgets are able to monitor or see what their children are exposed to. But when dealing with teenagers, how best do you point them into the right direction when they are on these social media platforms?
You see, we still have to go back to that thing called trust. I'll give you an example. The first time my daughter saw something inappropriate online, she brought it to me.
Okay.
Because she's like, hey, Mom, look. And it's because she knew that she was not going to get a big battle. In fact, it wouldn't even cross her mind that I will slap her or beat her. And you know,
shout.
I actually wanted to know how she got there in the first place, so that I can stop the thing from seeing it. It wasn't even porn. I think it was just somebody twerking or doing something like that. It wasn't even, you know, something so drastic. But the fact that she can come to me, so that trust must be there. Your child must trust you, know the family values, and know that we don't represent. So if you say, what do the identities represent? You know that, do we do this sort of thing? Do we watch this sort of things? That conviction is there. That belief is there. That belief system, that faith, whatever it is that you believe in, whether it's you're Muslim, traditionalist, Christian, whatever it is, you will have instilled that thing. The child will understand. You would have these conversations with the child. I'm not one for gadgets because I use them. I mean, all this Google Family Link, QU Studio, I use them with my child growing up. But you know what? I prefer trust.
Right.
Because ultimately, they're going to be at a point where those things will not be there. They might be with a friend who doesn't have those apps to block all those things, and they may be watching something online. Your child should be able to say,
I don't do this.
We don't do this. Yeah, I don't do this. So it's not about policing your child. You can police your child in the house. Okay, we are not doing this. Bring your phone. Da 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 da. But when your child is independent of you, outside, representing your family, then what happens? Okay. Will that child, you know, when my child was at home, there's a time when you submit your phone. When she was younger, in fact, the phone it was grandpa that bought her, gave it to her. You know what I'm saying? The phone like me, you don't even have phone, whatever. You know, that kind of thing. But when she had a phone, no phones as she was growing up. You know, this was post-14 because of COVID. Otherwise, so you drop your phone at a certain time during the week. We had all these things. But when she left for the UK, at some point when she came back for holiday, she wanted to drop her phone.
It's been part and parcel.
It is already, I was like, real, wow, Ronke, you've done your job. You know what I'm saying? It has become a part, you know. I don't believe that she's sitting in her dormitory and watching porn. It just doesn't cross my mind. It's just not who she is. Right. You know what I'm saying? You must do this work so much that you have the confidence in the work that you have done. If you're constantly suspecting your child, looking, searching cupboard,
then there's a problem.
There's a problem.
Are we putting them under pressure like that? And there was a news that I received some time ago, and I was like, I was jittery. My wife called me, and she told me my daughter had started menstruating, and in my mind, I was shivering.
That was. You're supposed to kill chicken. What are you talking about? Throw party, Daddy. I hope you have killed the chicken.
And they're giving you the leg.
See this, Daddy.
And you know, when I started noticing some changes in her, I was like,
She was reaching puberty. You were
she's
scared.
growing, and you know, people would taunt me online. People like Bimbo, they would taunt me. And as parents, how do we manage such, or as fathers, how do we manage such?
You have to understand that you perched on somebody.
That's not the way I want you to answer.
No. The thing is, they have to grow up.
Just tell me she's growing.
No, I won't just tell you that she's growing. I will tell you to normalize this type of thing. What are you scared of? This is something to celebrate. That children that have not seen their periods and they're in their 30s, 40s and stuff like that. This is something, it's a joyous occasion. This means that your child is going to be able to conceive by the grace of God. You know what I'm saying? This is something that is a big deal. Celebrate it with her. Be that daddy that buys sanitary towels for the child. Don't be the one that you don't want to talk about it. Be the one, you know, to tell her what to do. You know what I'm saying? How are you feeling? Do you need painkillers? Do you need to rest? Be that one that will communicate. Don't be the one that when it's period time or anything to talk about,
don't even come near me.
Don't come near
I
me.
can't take this.
Let her not feel alien, because there are some people, there are some women that are ashamed of their period because they make their dads or their parents have made it look as if it's something to be ashamed of. It's nothing. It's part of who we are. It's their daddies, their mommies are here because of this same period. You know, so. Let it be, normalize it for your child. Celebrate it. Do you know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be a foreign thing to the child. Yes, your child is growing up, but don't be jittery. We need to constantly normalize all these different things that were taboos or unspoken things. Let it be normal in our families. You know, I'm going to the supermarket. Do you still have your sanitary towels? Do I need to get 1 or 2 packs for you and things like that? Let your child know that you are friends when it comes to these things. It's not a big deal. That's the way to go, Daddy.
All right, thank you. Daddy he still can't get around to it.
I can't do it. Don't worry, I will call and check.
So
when you're going home today, go and buy it.
So let's talk about, because they are teenagers, this also is a time for them to explore. This again is a time for them to, you know, again peer pressure, get some notices or stuff from friends, and then this also will be a time for friends to, you know, want to ask if, mommy, can I bring this friend over? Can I go to this friend's place? So how best what kind of, I know you mentioned it earlier, but what kind of liberty do you give to them at this time? Or what kind, Jibola used the word pressure earlier. How open should they really be? Because again, sometimes they are open, but they get to a certain level where they think, oh, am I sure I really want to tell mommy this, or can I tell daddy this? So when choosing their friends, when hanging out with their friends, what again are the roles of the parents here?
Again, it's that love, it's that trust. It's everything is that love, and you know.
So once there's the love, once there's the trust, then.
So I'll give you an example. My daughter is supposed to go out with a friend tomorrow, and she came to ask me, said, my friend Olamide is around from the States and we would like to hang out tomorrow. I said, where would you like to go? She said, X1. So I said, send me by WhatsApp, let me see.
Okay.
What I want to do is I want to see if I can, the location and everything. Do I have to be there? Do I have somebody to chaperone them? She's had times when, in fact, her friends see me as the cool mom. You know, I'm the one that has the hangout. I'm the one that, you know, see, my daughter has mostly guy friends, and I'm comfortable with it because they're like her brothers. I find that a lot of the girls that people are raising today are very insecure, and there's a word I want to use, and I don't want to, it's not even around guys. A lot of girls are very, you know, that B word. They're like that, and you know, they're not nice. They're very hostile, and they're very insecure. So when they're in school, it's always fighting about a boy, fighting about this, and you know, but you find that the boys are a lot safer.
Right.
You know, so my daughter, I get along with a lot of guys, and my daughter gets along with a lot of guys. When she was doing her send-off party, only one girl came. All of them were boys. Potato coming. I know their parents and everything. Everything, you know that kind of thing. So where am I going? I know these parents of these boys. I know they can be in my home and I will supervise them. My daughter talks to me about all these sort of things. These are good boys, and when they finish eating, they will go to the kitchen, they will wash and clean. You know, the children that have home training. You have to be able to be involved in the kind of friendships. So there was a time they wanted to go out and they didn't want to do it at home. They wanted to do it somewhere on the island here. I drove them there and I told them, you can't spend more than this. They all sat down and they did whatever I excluded myself from there, and I picked them up at a particular time that was healthy. You know what I'm saying? I give them the liberty because they want their privacy as well. They give them, even though my daughter won't tell me everything, you know, give them that privacy. Don't always feel you have to be in their business. Right. If you're always in their business, they will do things behind your back. True. I did things behind my parents' back because they will not let me do it now. They will not let you They will not let me do the thing. So let me just carry and please, I hope my dad is not watching. You know, but please give them the liberty. Okay. Stop being, you know, there was a time that my daughter wanted to go clubbing. And this was like, hey, clubbing, this Lagos. Even me, I've never been to clubbing, this Lagos. You know, that kind of thing. But I allowed her. I parked outside. I parked outside. She was with her friends. I saw them enter and everything. They did whatever they wanted to do. And as soon as she came back, I was one of the first people she saw. She was like, oh, mommy, it was so much fun. This one, that one. Tell me all about it. You know, but if I said don't go. Don't go.
She'll go behind you.
So now that she has gone, in fact, I went with her to a Burna Boy concert about 2 years ago. And I went with another mom. We sat away from she and her friends again. My mom was just security. Burna Boy did not come till 3 a.m. in the morning. I was like, what type of punishment is this? And we've been there till like 8 a.m. By the following day, she was the one, by the following season, she was the one that said, I'm not going. I can't keep saying don't go. Go and see.
If you're comfortable.
When you see, you will know. You even know, that's when she would understand that these are not in alignment with our values or not. It's not everything that you say. Some of them, let them go and experience it. Now, you have to balance that. You won't say, go and experience sex so that you can, you have to balance some things that you know that is not going to, be drastic or something that's going to hurt the child. Right. Sure, you want to go and see Burna Boy, go. But I will be at the back.
Let me just, we need to wrap up. But peradventure, a teenager makes a mistake. How best do you correct such a teenager? Because you've had some people, because of youthful exuberance, because of peer pressure, they went overboard and, they made certain mistakes that, but then as a parent, how best can you correct that child?
We're still going back to our word of the day.
That's
our word for today.
Which voice do you want to use to talk?
It's still the same love that we are going to continue.
So you're correcting love?
You're correcting. It's not even happened. So if this has happened already, maybe the child started using drugs or it has happened, what are you going to do?
Right.
Now, you have to love so hard that you remove the shame. You have to love so hard. Because even as adults, for example, an adult is still a child of somebody. Sure. You can get married to somebody and marriage does not work and you want to go home. You want to go back to your parents. Is it not love? Yeah. They will receive you again with love. The same way that you expect to receive love is the same way you should give your children that kind of love. And they might make mistakes that are huge, but it's just, you're just going to have to handle it. God won't give you what you can't handle. You're just going to have to handle it.
Adebimpe, you were going to say? Why are they always angry?
Yes. Because the parents make them angry. Okay. The parents that make them, they don't give them a break. To be honest, I don't have an angry teen. I know how to relate with them. I think we have, that's why I said parenting must be learned. Right. They're not angry. They just want to be understood. People say, oh, Gen Z are this, they are rude, they are that. They are not. They just are a misunderstood generation.
So we must take pains to understand them.
To understand where they're coming from. You will see that there are so many good attributes to these Gen Z children.
Okay, so I think that's where we'd have to leave it today. But of course, the key word here is love. Love, trust, communicate with them. And of course, you need to also understand these very special set of people. They are in their own world and they just need people who will understand them. And of course, when you do, I'm sure that of course, they won't turn out angry. Thank you so much, Ronke, Posh, for finding time to be here today. And of course, regards to Daddy.
Yes.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we return, the conversation, Adebimpe, I don't know what you're going to do about your voice. Today, you have two young men who you...
Ajibola,
Thank
Don't
you.
take your pound.
You
Don't
took
take your
meat
meat from me.
yesterday,
No,
so
no, 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 no,
what
no,
is
no.
don't take your
I
pound?
need both of them.
Ajibola.
I'm still digesting what Ronke told us, so I'll need some time.
You're still in shock.
You're still in shock. Don't worry, I've told you. You'll be fine.
You'll be
You
fine. How old is your daughter?
12.
Oh.
Oh, see? Ajibola, don't worry.
This is a good place to establish an excellent bond.
Be rest assured. Don't worry.
This is
We'll
a
take
good
a
time.
quick break and the conversation returns shortly.